All right, let's see how sharp you really are. Risk oversight sounds simple until the wrong decision destroys everything. Today you're facing 10 governance questions. No hints, no easy answers, and definitely no second chances. Some statements sound obvious, but that's exactly how people get caught off guard. So trust your instincts. Think carefully and keep score. Because the people who understand risk usually see danger before everyone else. Ready? Let's begin. Question 1. Companies with fewer risks are always better managed. Fiction. This sounds logical, but it's one of the biggest misconceptions in governance. Strong organizations don't hide risks. They identify them, track them, and monitor them continuously. When a company reports no risks, that often means leadership has limited visibility, or employees are afraid to report problems. The healthiest organizations usually have active risk discussions, because awareness creates protection. Hidden risks are always more dangerous than visible ones. Risk oversight is only the responsibility of compliance teams. Fiction. Risk oversight belongs to everyone: executives, managers, operations, technology teams, third-party vendors, and leadership. Compliance helps structure governance, but risks can originate anywhere. One ignored email, one weak process, one poor decision. That's all it takes. The strongest organizations create accountability across the entire business, because risk does not stay inside one department. Question 3. Cybersecurity is now one of the largest governance risks globally. Fact. Cybersecurity has evolved into a major governance issue. One cyber attack can shut down operations, expose confidential data, trigger lawsuits, and permanently damage trust. That's why boards and executives now treat cybersecurity as a strategic oversight priority, especially with AI, cloud systems, and global digital connectivity increasing exposure every year. Modern governance without cybersecurity oversight is incomplete governance. Question 4. If a risk has never happened before, it usually isn't worth monitoring. Fiction. Some of the most destructive events in history were risks people underestimated. Emerging threats, unknown vulnerabilities, global disruptions. They often begin as unlikely scenarios. Good governance is not only about history, it's about anticipation. The organizations that survive major crises usually planned before others even recognized the threat. Risk oversight means preparing for possibilities, not just repeating the past. Question 5. Documenting decisions is a critical part of risk oversight. Fact. Without documentation, accountability disappears. A strong governance process records who made the decision, what was approved, why it happened, what risks were identified, and what actions followed. This creates transparency, and transparency protects organizations. When decisions are undocumented, confusion spreads quickly during investigations or crises. If nobody remembers why something happened, that becomes a governance problem. Risk oversight only matters in large corporations. Fiction. Small businesses can collapse from unmanaged risks even faster. One operational failure, one legal issue, one cyber incident, one failed supplier. That can be enough. Governance is not about company size. It's about visibility and preparedness. Strong oversight helps organizations identify problems before they become disasters. And every organization, no matter how small, faces risk. Question 7. The biggest risks are usually the easiest to see coming. Fiction. The most dangerous risks are often the ones organizations underestimate. Strategic blind spots, slow-moving operational failures, hidden vulnerabilities. These are the risks that quietly grow in the background. That's why governance requires people to look deeper, not wider. Many major corporate failures were visible only after it was too late. The strongest oversight teams question assumptions and challenge what others ignore. Question 8. A governance framework guarantees protection from major disasters. Fiction. Governance reduces uncertainty, but it cannot eliminate risk entirely. Unexpected events still happen, human error still exists, technology still fails, and global disruptions can appear without warning. The purpose of governance is resilience, to detect problems faster, respond quicker, and recover stronger. Strong governance is not about perfection, it's about preparedness. Question 9. The most dangerous risks are always visible. Fiction. Some risks hide beneath the surface for years: cultural weaknesses, poor communication, third-party vulnerabilities, conflicts of interest. They're often invisible until they suddenly become critical. That's why governance professionals constantly review what others overlook, because invisible risks can become the biggest threats of all. The organizations that fail usually missed something they thought didn't matter. Question 10. The biggest governance failures are usually caused by technology. Fiction. Technology can amplify problems, but most governance failures begin with people: ignored warnings, weak accountability, poor leadership, lack of transparency, or decisions nobody wanted to challenge. Technology often becomes the visible failure, but human behavior is usually the root cause. That's why governance is not only about systems, it's about culture, communication, oversight, and accountability. The organizations that survive major crises are usually the ones willing to confront uncomfortable truths early. That's real risk oversight. All right, how did you do? Drop your score in the comments, and be honest. Did any of those questions surprise you? If you scored 8 or higher, you're probably thinking about governance differently than most people. But if some of those caught you off guard, that's exactly why risk oversight matters. Because the biggest dangers are often the ones people underestimate. Hit like, subscribe, and come back for the next challenge. Because in governance, the people who stay ahead are usually the people paying attention first.